Welcome to RedDragon! Today we're going to be taking a look at the Abyssalcraft mod again, and we're going to continue with progression after the point we last left off. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you have slain Azura, because that's where I ended my last video, so if you need to know how to get to that point or need help getting to that point, you should really check out my most recent video, which is part 1. I'll leave a link to it down in the description. For now, I'm going to assume you've slain Azura and received all the loot. The most important piece of that loot, though, is the Eye of the Abyss. Do not lose this, or you're going to have to summon Azura and kill them all over again, which, if you remember from last time, is a lot of work. However, once you have this Eye of the Abyss, you're going to need to do another ritual with the Gateway Key and the Eye of the Abyss, which should get you Azura's dreaded Gateway Key, which is how you get to the Dreadlands, or the next part of the game. You're also going to need a Dreadland-infused Power Stone and a Transmutation Gem. Transmutation Gems, if you remember from last time, aren't too difficult to get, but the Dreadland-infused Power Stone could be difficult. While this video is going to focus mainly on direct progression, I would like to take this time to mention that there's a lot of interesting things you can make at this point in the time with rituals. You can upgrade your Corallium armor by using a bunch of stuff that, for the most part, isn't too hard to get. You should have a lot of Corallium gems after that last boss fight. So you can get a nice upgraded set of armor that gives you some cool immunities as well. There's some other things you can do, just to summon other bosses and things to fight, create Corallium plagues around you. Just a nice, it's like a basket of gadgets or things that you now have access to that you've gone to this point in the mod. However, as I said, we're going to be focusing directly on progression. Something you're going to want to do before you get started on all this is upgrade your Staff of Rending from the regular Staff of Rending to the Abyssal Wasteland Staff of Rending. This isn't too expensive. All it requires is a ritual with your Staff of Rending, 4 Abyssal Stone, which should be everywhere, 3 Corallium Plagued Flesh, which is easy to come across, and you should have some from the last boss fight, and 1 Shadow Gem. So if you have one left over from before, that would be great. If not, you're going to have to get another one. This will just get you a better Staff of Rending that works a lot faster, which is pretty important because you're going to be using these a lot. You'll notice this new Staff of Rending goes up by 2 each time instead of 1. So here I have 20 Abyssal Wasteland energy, and now after one single hit, I'll have 22. So it doubles your speed. Okay, now what you have to do is get your hands on some of these Power Stone Trackers. These are crafted with an Eye of Ender surrounded by singular Corallium gems. Thankfully, this gives you 4 of them, so it's not too outrageous a price. These act like Eye of Enders, in which that you throw them, and they go flying off. If you follow them, you get to a version of a stronghold that exists in the Abyssal Wasteland. Eventually, you'll find the location of the stronghold, and the eyes will start going down into the ground. Then you're going to have to mine down. Probably shouldn't dig straight down. If you have the right modded gear, I guess you can. And you're going to want to be looking for a dungeon of sorts. And you'll start seeing, right here, we have these differently colored blocks, which are a good sign that you're getting in the right area. So now, if you see, I'm in what's basically a stronghold, but all themed after Abyssalcraft. And now what you're looking for is what would be the portal room in a regular stronghold. You'll find some chests along the way, and the loot can be okay. Like here is a golden apple, but it's not really anything too special. In fact, I think it might use the same loot table as a regular stronghold. So they're worth checking at least, but it's nothing worth getting excited. Once you eventually reach what would be the portal room, you're going to find this right here, a Dreadland-infused Power Stone. This is the whole reason you're here, because at this point in time, when you haven't gone to the Dreadlands yet, this is the only way to get one of these. So you definitely want to take this, and be very careful not to lose it. Because you only need 1 for now, but you're going to have to go on a whole other expedition to get one if you lose it. Now that you have all the items for the ritual, put the Gateway Key in the center, then surround it with the Transmutation Gem, the Eye of the Abyss, and the Dreadland-infused Power Stone. Then, take a fully charged Abyssal Wasteland Necronomicon, you need all the power, and shift right click on the center. Then the ritual will commence, and you will get the next key in the mod. There it is. Azura's dreaded gateway key. Now this key, when right-clicked, will open a portal to the Dreadlands, which is the next dimension. However, also if you shift right-click, it will open the regular Abyssal portal. So you still have access to that, so you can still get into the Abyssal Wasteland and back home. So don't worry about that, you only need this one key. Then, whenever you've prepared enough or done everything you want to, you can go into the Dreadlands. Welcome to the Dreadlands. It's very, very red. There are some purple biomes, but it's mostly red. And the mobs here are more powerful than the last dimension, so you're going to have to be careful. Some of them, like these Dreadspawn though, are pretty weak and can be taken out fairly easily. So these are the ones you're going to want to be using your Staff of Rending on. You're going to have to use your Staff of Rending on a lot of these guys, because you're going to need 3 Dreadlands Essence. As you do this, you'll also get some Dread Fragments from killing them, which you should definitely collect, because you're going to need those. The purpose of getting all this Dreadlands Essence is that, once you do, you'll be able to create Skin of the Dreadlands with 8 fragments around 1 essence. And then these are used with the Abyssal Waste Necronomicon to get the next rank of the Necronomicon. If you remember, once the energy replaced, like the Dreadlands energy gets to 100, you'll get 1 essence. So this takes a while, but thankfully with the upgraded staff, it should only take half as long. Once you got the required items, you're going to want to turn the Dreadlands Essence and Dread Fragments into Skin of the Dreadlands. Then, put those together with your Abyssal Wasteland Necronomicon. They do have to be in their specific spots. So that'll get you the Dreadlands Necronomicon, which is the next Necronomicon. It will have some new info and will have unlocked things like in rituals. You'll have the Dreadlands rituals. And there's just a few other items throughout that you can find. You'll notice you have a whole bunch of new rituals as well. So it's pretty interesting effects. You can capture entities that come nearby by using potential energy. You can evolve monsters to more powerful monsters. One that particularly interests me though is called Dark Resurrection, which will allow you to bring back a dead mob by using a name tag that has the name that they had. So if you have like a pet of some sort that dies from the different mod, or even like a vanilla wolf or something, you can actually bring it back. Which is actually a really cool feature, because even this is all kind of dark magic, you can bring it back, which is, I guess, a little bit of necromancy. You also make upgraded armor, so dreaded Abyssal Knight armor and stuff. There's a whole lot of items. You should really take a look at them, but you can go on to the next Staff of Rending. There's just so much here. Setting up rituals in the Dreadlands follows the same pattern as before. You just have to make that circle you've been making, except this time, you're going to want to use Dreadstone Cobblestone, and right-click at the end with the Dreadlands Necronomicon. And there we go. There are 2 rituals you're going to have to do. This is because you need both the bottom and the top of the Altar of Shagarath. For these rituals, some of the materials are really easy to come across. For example, there's sticks in a bucket, as well as bones, and the key you already have. And Dreadstone itself is really easy, because that's just everywhere. Dreadium ingots and Dread cloth will be a little bit harder. You're going to need 4 Dreadium total, 4 Dreadium ingots that is, and 4 Dread cloth total. You're also going to need to fill your book with energy twice, because you need the maximum amount for both of these, and you're going to need a sacrifice at each of the rituals. Dread cloth is crafted with 1 leather, 4 string, and 4 dread fragments, which can be dropped off some of the mobs here. Dreadium ingots, actually, can be very difficult to obtain because, unfortunately, they cannot actually be mined. There is no Dreadium ore. Instead, you're going to need a transmuter. Transmuters are crafted with Corallium brick, blocks of refined Corallium, a liquid Corallium bucket, and a transmutation gem. So it shouldn't be too hard to get, but the blocks of refined Corallium might be a drain on your resources if you don't have much yet. But all in all, that shouldn't be too difficult to obtain. The mobs in the Dreadlands will sometimes drop dreaded shards of Abyssal Knight, although here you can't see the name yet. When you power the transmuter with liquid Corallium buckets, and then put in these, it'll essentially, for all intents and purposes, smelt down into dreadium ingots. So, once you have dreadium ingots, you should be able to use those to get dread wings. You should have the hang of doing rituals by this point, just to go pretty smoothly. You should be able to get both halves of the altar without too much trouble. Just one quick second. As much as I hate to be that cliche, if my videos have helped you at all, could you please help me out by liking my video and or subscribing? And in fact, I'll make you a deal. If you go through the minimal effort required to hit the like button or the subscribe button, that will provide a little bit of motivation for me, which will help boost my content and make it come out faster and of higher quality. So, a little bit of effort from you makes a little bit of improvement from me, and all of you coming together can really make this work. Do we have a deal? Well, one way or another, back to the video. Once you have both halves of the altar, you're going to want to go to a Dreadlands Mountains biome. And it's actually very important, it has to be in a Dreadlands Mountains biome. Other biomes will not work. So here I'm just in regular Dreadlands. You just have to find an area where it says, for F3, that you're in Dreadlands Mountains. Then you're going to want to go all the way down to y equals 40. Making simpler, I'm just going to dig straight down. For you, you might want to actually create a room or something, or find another way down. Whatever works for you. So at y equals 40, you're going to want to clear yourself out of space. And you can place the bottom and the top part. See, it says I'm one block too low. So not exactly y equals 40 then, but very close. So you place the bottom and the top though, one block higher than for me. And you should be able to right click on the top block. Here you get a nice little story cutscene almost where Shagaroth, I'm sorry if I'm still pronouncing that wrong, basically tells dread guards to devour you. But as you advance forward, you do have some time, and then you will get attacked. The enemies here shouldn't be too tough, like the extra side ones. They're more of a hassle as you make your way to where Shagaroth is. The Dread Guards themselves deal fire damage as well, so if you have fire resistance that would help, but otherwise they're just very slow, so shouldn't pose too much of a problem. And there's the big boy, Shagaroth. He's a boss and he's not an easy one, so I wish you the best of luck in fighting him. After you win, you'll get, well, a ton of loot, frankly speaking. But as you can see, a lot of it's just random Dreadlands raid stuff, which, while it's nice to have, isn't anything too important. The things that you want to make sure you get are, not these, those are just in the way. But, you want to get that little white piece of paper in there, and make sure that doesn't go away. This is a greater scroll, and it'll give you some use later. Other than that, you want this. This is the main thing that's very important. The Dreadblade Gateway Key. And this is what you're going to need to progress. Well, I already did it, but there's a wall just here. Just break your way through there, and you get yourself a nice treasure chest. Now that you have a Dreadblade Gateway Key, you'll quickly find out that you can't do anything with it. It doesn't work. That's because you're going to need to put it into the transmuter from before. That's simple enough though, and this should give you the Shagaroth. Okay, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. That's beyond what I can pronounce. You get a key. It's a new key. And it goes to the next dimension. I recommend being very careful here, even with night vision. it'll still be very difficult to see. I had to give myself even just so I could see at all. And as you can see there, I just dropped. You can very easily fall into the void if you're not careful. Most of this is void, so you're going to want to find some solid ground. And here, there's mobs everywhere. This is just the most dangerous of the Abyssalcraft dimensions. So you're going to be very careful anywhere in here. For those of you interested in progression only, I'm going to just tell you the quick version. If you go to the coordinates x equals 4, y equals 53, z equals 7, you'll be able to find Jazahar, who's sort of the final boss, which will give you everything and every piece of knowledge in the Abyssalcraft. And then that's just that. But I'm kind of trying to do this review one dimension at a time, sort of. Like last time I focused mostly on the Abyssal Wasteland. This time I focused mostly on the Dreadlands. So I'm going to leave like everything left from the mod there for another video. Since I still have some time left before I reach the 20-minute mark I'm kind of aiming for with this video. I figured I could dive into spells and how those work. That seems to be a topic that I feel like a lot of people would be interested in. So, now that you're far enough into the mod, and that you just got a greater scroll, I thought it would be a good point in time to cover spells and how to craft spells. So what you're going to want to do is open up your Necronomicon, and click on Spellbook, Open Compendium. And this will give you all the information on the spells, and whoops, sorry, one sec. All the spells and how to craft them. So here we have Entropy, which takes a piece of coal, a piece of Darkstone Cobblestone, the greater scroll you had. It takes 0 energy per cast and is instant, and it draws energy straight from the ground as it crumbles it to dust. This actually gives you energy. So now that you know the recipe, the greater scroll, Darkstone Cobblestone, and a piece of coal, let me show you how to make it. Now that I have the 3 items here, what I do is I open up Necronomicon and go back. In Spellbook, instead of clicking on Open Compendium, I click on Create/Modify Spells. You put the greater scroll in the center, and the 2 other items around it. This would give you me the Entropy spell. Okay, now here I have a Dreadlands Necronomicon with 0 potential energy. Now if I take the greater scroll and use it, see how it makes this into cobblestone? Then, this book now actually has a little bit of energy. It's not much, but it's another way to gain energy. And it can get you some of the other blocks you might need, like see as it goes through the stages. And it can destroy things if used enough times, and since it has no spellcasting time, I suppose you could find some use of it for clearing out blocks. But it's probably not the fastest. Almost all spells are crafted in the same way. You just have to look at the ingredients needed. So you're here for Life Drain, that takes life from an enemy and heals you. You just need a basic scroll and an apple, and it takes 100 potential energy per cast. And you can have to charge it up. And then Mining is another one that actually doesn't need a scroll, but it'll break any stone and leave any ores intact. There's a lot of spells, and they have different ways to craft them. The thing is, if you use like a greater scroll for something that just requires a basic scroll, it will still work. It's just saying that you need at least a basic scroll. So now I'm just going to go over all the spells. I should mention, scrolls are not craftable, so be careful what spells you make, since you can only get them from killing bosses. Of course, if you resummon Shagarath, you can get more scrolls, but so you don't have to be that careful, because you can resummon the boss, but it's just a lot of work. Okay, going over the spells. First, we have Entropy, the one I previously used. It requires no energy, and actually gives you a little bit of energy by crumbling blocks away. So as you can see, that's kind of how Life Drain works. You just gotta focus on an enemy for a while, and it will give you a hunk of its health and deal some damage. Kind of works from any range, as long as the enemy's in sight. This one's one of my favorites. It's called Mining, and what it does is you point it in a straight line, and for 500 potential energy, it'll burn right through with a line. Now, the cool thing about this is, you may not really see it work here because there aren't that many ores in the Dreadlands. It will leave behind any ores. Just to show, if I get some diamond ore, and then decide to superheat this thing. Once the lava fades away, you'll see that the diamond should still be there. And there it is. Next, we have Grasp of Cthulhu. What this spell is supposed to do is it's supposed to freeze the enemy in place and damage them over time, but I can't seem to get it to work. This one's called Hide from the Eye, and it's just invisibility. What it can also do, however, is if you target an enemy, or any entity, you can turn it invisible. This seems less useful, but it could come in handy on a server or something where you have allies. This next one's difficult to show, but it's called Detachment. It removes one piece of armor or something from an enemy. So if an enemy has armor on or a weapon in their hand, it has the chance to remove it. Next we have Steel Vigor, which weakens your enemies and gives them a bunch of debuffs. It gives you a bunch of buffs. Like here I got Speed 2, Strength 2, Haste 2. We have 4 more spells. First, we have On Death to Dust. This is very cool. Just take any undead creature and gone. It's now gone. Ooze removal, if you remember the Shoggoth ooze from earlier, it'll just erase any of that. So if you have any trouble with Shoggoths around your base, it'll get rid of all that annoying ooze. This one's interesting to say the least. It's called Sacrificial Interdiction, and it will get rid of all enemies around you, provided you sacrifice a baby animal. Here I have a baby pig and a bunch of zombies. So when I cast a spell, the pig dies and all the zombies get pushed back. It's not that far, but they all did get propelled a little bit. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, likely in the same day. If there's anything else you want to see, or like any parts of this mod you want to see in part 3 of my review, let me know. If there's any further mod reviews you want to see, let me know. I guess the rule of thumb is just let me know on things and communicate with me what you guys want in kinda the broad sense of the word, because I'm hoping to communicate with my viewers as much as possible and kinda, well, keep this channel going to the best of its ability. That's all for now. Once more, thank you for watching, and this is RedDragon, signing off.